The Berenstain Bears. For an entire generation, this isn't just the name of a beloved children's book series. It's the patient zero of a cognitive pandemic. It's the one that makes even the most rational person pause and ask, wait, are you sure? You remember it, don't you? Baron, Stein. You can picture the cursive letters on the cover, the distinct ine sound as you read it aloud. It feels as real and solid as the memory of your childhood bedroom. But if you were to walk into a bookstore right now, you would find only Baron Stein. And according to every official record, every printing, every piece of evidence in this reality, it has always been Stain. There is no trace of the Berenstain you so vividly recall. This isn't just a simple misspelling, it's a shared, specific, and fiercely defended false memory held by millions of disconnected people. The logical explanation is called confabulation. Our brain isn't a perfect recording device, it's more like an impressionist painter. It captures the gist, the feeling, and then fills in the details later with what it expects to be there. The suffix Stein is incredibly common in German Jewish names, think Einstein or Frankenstein. Stein is not. So, your brain, in an effort to be efficient, likely performed a tiny unconscious autocorrect, smoothing out a jagged piece of information to better fit its existing patterns. It's a simple, elegant, and slightly unsettling explanation for a glitch in our collective wetware. But then there's the other theory, the one that whispers from the deeper, stranger levels of this iceberg. This theory suggests that the memory isn't false at all. It's a residual echo, a ghost. It posits that many of us are visitors, immigrants from a parallel reality, a universe almost identical to this one, but with a few key differences. A world where Nelson Mandela died in prison and a family of bears was in fact named Berenstain. In this view, your memory isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's proof that you, or perhaps reality itself, shifted tracks at some point, leaving you with a clear, perfect memory of a world that no longer exists. So, what are we left with? A simple spelling error that reveals the profound fallibility of human memory? Or a breadcrumb trail leading to the staggering possibility that the history you remember wasn't the history that happened here? Nelson Mandela's death. It's the event that gave the Mandela Effect its name, the patient zero for a fracture in our collective consciousness. For thousands, maybe millions of people, a specific memory exists, sharp and undeniable. Nelson Mandela died in a South African prison sometime in the 1980s. You might be one of them. You might remember the television news reports, the solemn anchors, the global outpouring of grief. Some can even recall specific conversations with their parents about the tragedy of this great leader dying behind bars, a martyr for his cause. It feels like a core memory, a solid brick in the foundation of your past. But that isn't what happened. The history books, the archives, the unshakable record of our timeline tells a completely different story. Nelson Mandela was released from prison in 1990. He walked free, helped dismantle the very system that imprisoned him, became a Nobel laureate and the first Black president of South Africa. He lived a long, celebrated, and globally impactful life until his actual death in 2013. So, where does that other memory come from? This is the heart of the mystery. It's not just a fuzzy detail. For those who experience it, the discrepancy is a profound and jarring contradiction. The rational explanation is called confabulation. Our brains are not perfect recording devices, they are storytellers. They fill in gaps, merge details, and create coherent narratives. It's possible people confused Mandela with other anti-apartheid activists who did die tragically, like Steve Biko. The news of Mandela's long imprisonment was so pervasive that, perhaps, our mind simply wrote the most logical, tragic ending. But the Mandela Effect proposes a far stranger possibility. It asks you to think of reality not as a single, solid highway, but as a river with countless parallel currents. What if, for a moment, two of these currents merged? And when they separated again, some of us were left with the residue, the echoes, the memories from that other timeline. A world where Mandela's story did end in that prison cell. It's a theory that shifts the question from, is my memory faulty? To, is reality itself stable? It forces you to confront a deeply personal and unsettling idea. When your own vivid recollection clashes directly with the world's recorded history, which do you trust? Is your mind simply playing a trick on you, or did you, for a brief moment, remember a world that no longer is? Luke, I am your father. You can hear it, can't you? The deep, mechanical rasp of Darth Vader's respirator, the booming authority of James Earl Jones, the sheer, earth shattering weight of that revelation. It's a line etched into our cultural DNA, a quote so famous it transcends the film itself. But here's the unsettling part, the detail that pulls at the fabric of our shared reality. He never says it. The actual line, delivered as Luke Skywalker hangs precariously over a chasm, is, "No, I am your father." The difference is subtle, but it's everything. The misremembered version, "Luke, I am your father," is a clean, direct statement. It's a perfect soundbite. The real line is a response, a negation. Luke has just screamed, "He told me you killed him." And Vader's "no" is a direct counterpunch to that accusation. So why have millions of us, for decades, confidently remembered a line that doesn't exist? This is the quintessential example of the Mandela Effect, a collective misremembering, a shared glitch in the matrix. It's as if our collective consciousness decided to fix the line in post-production, making it more impactful and self-contained. Our memory isn't a perfect video recorder. It's more like a storyteller, constantly editing and refining the narrative to make more sense. We need context, so our brain inserts Luke to clarify who Vader is speaking to, even though it's visually obvious. Think of it like a cultural game of telephone. The original message was, "No, I am your father." But as it was parodied in shows like The Simpsons and movies like Tommy Boy, it was simplified for comedic effect. The parody, the echo, became so widespread that it eventually overwrote the original source code in our minds. The incorrect version is now more real to us than the truth. This isn't just about a movie quote. It's a profound question about the nature of memory and history itself. If we can all be so certain, so viscerally sure about a piece of dialogue that is demonstrably false, what other more important memories have we collectively altered? It suggests that our past isn't a fixed, solid thing we look back on, but a fluid story we are constantly and unconsciously rewriting together. The Monopoly Man's monocle. It's perhaps the most famous ghost in our collective memory, an object so real, so vivid, you could almost reach out and polish it, yet it has never existed. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture him, the portly, cheerful tycoon in the black top hat and tuxedo. You can see the white mustache, the cane, the bag of money, and you can see the glint of light catching that single, polished lens perched perfectly over his right eye. That little circle of glass is as essential to his character as the go-to-jail square is to the game. It signifies his status, his old-world charm, his slightly cartoonish wealth. You've seen it 1,000 times. You've probably drawn it as a kid. It is an undeniable part of the image burned into your mind. Except it isn't. Because it was never there, Rich Uncle Pennybags, the character you know as the Monopoly Man, has never, in any official artwork from Parker Brothers or Hasbro, worn a monocle. Not once. Every game box, every chance card, every depiction is completely devoid of eyewear. The space above his eye is, and has always been, empty. Now, the easy, rational explanation is a phenomenon called confabulation. Our brains are storytellers, and they hate a vacuum. They saw a rich, Gilded Age-style character and simply filled in the blank with the most logical accessory. We mashed him together with other characters, like Mr. Peanut, who does wear a monocle. It's a neat, tidy, and perfectly reasonable answer. But it feels incomplete, doesn't it? It doesn't quite satisfy the sheer certainty of the memory, a memory shared by millions of disconnected people across generations. It's less like a mistake and more like a patch note from a reality you're no longer running. Imagine our shared history as a single immense tapestry. We all know its design, but the Mandela effect is like looking closely and realizing a single golden thread that you know was there yesterday has vanished, and even worse, the pattern shows no sign it was ever there at all. The logical part of your brain accepts the evidence, the photos, the game boxes. But a quieter, more unsettling part has to ask, if a memory this trivial, this universally known, can dissolve into thin air, what else can? What happens when the missing thread isn't on a board game character, but in the fabric of a major historical event? Curious George's tale. Picture him in your mind, right now. That curious little brown primate, the star of countless books and shows, always guided by the man with the yellow hat. You can see his friendly, expressive face, his wide, innocent eyes, and his constant smile. Now, focus on his silhouette. As he swings from a vine or rides a bicycle, what do you see trailing behind him? Is it a long, slender, prehensile tail curling into a question mark at the end? If you answered yes, you're in the company of millions. It's a memory so ingrained, so fundamentally correct in our minds, that to discover the truth feels like a personal gaslighting. Because the fact is, in every official book and every authorized animation, Curious George has never, ever had a tail. He is, technically, a tailless ape, not a monkey. The logical explanation is a concept called confabulation. It's a fascinating and slightly unnerving quirk of the human mind. Your brain is a master of efficiency. It sees a small, brown, tree-climbing primate and instantly accesses a mental file labeled monkey. And what's the most common attribute in that file? A tail. So, your memory, in an effort to create a complete and logical picture, simply draws one in. It's like an autocorrect for reality, filling in a blank you didn't even know was there. It's the same cognitive shortcut that makes you misremember a famous movie line or a corporate logo. But for those who study the Mandela effect, this isn't just a simple brain fart. It's evidence, a clue. They argue the memory is too vivid, too specific, and shared by too many disconnected people to be a mere coincidence. This isn't a faulty memory of the past, it's a crystal clear memory of a different past. They propose that we are living in a timeline that has been altered, or that we've somehow shifted from a parallel universe where George was, in fact, a monkey with a tail. Think about the implications of that. It reframes the debate entirely. The discrepancy is no longer in your head, it's in the very fabric of the world around you. George's missing tail becomes a tiny, almost invisible scar left behind by a cosmic-level surgery on history. And it forces you to ask a chilling question. If something so trivial can be edited out of existence, what else was changed? What historical events, what personal memories that define who you are, might be slightly different from how they were in the world you were born into? So, as you drift off, consider that image in your mind. Is that tail a phantom conjured by a beautifully imperfect brain? Or is it a ghost, a faint, lingering echo from a reality that was, but is no more? Jif peanut butter. For millions of people, this isn't just a brand, it's a crack in their personal reality, a glitch in the code of their memory. Go ahead, picture the jar from your childhood pantry, the bold primary colors, the swirl of peanut butter on the label, and the name JIFFY. You can see it, can't you? You can feel the absolute certainty of it. The problem is, that jar never existed. Not once. According to our current documented timeline, the brand has always, since its introduction in 1956, been just Jif. There are no vintage ads for Jiffy, no old photographs of a Jiffy jar. It is a ghost in our collective history. So, what's going on? The simple explanation, the very tip of this iceberg, is a kind of mental crossover. Your brain, an incredible but imperfect filing system, likely saw the brand Skippy and the brand Jif and performed a subconscious autocorrect. It blended them, creating a more phonetically pleasing, more memorable name. It's like a tiny data corruption that spread like a virus. Our memory isn't a video camera after all. It's more like a storyteller constantly editing the past to make a more coherent narrative. And Jiffy Just tells a better story to our ears. But this is where we go deeper. The rational explanation doesn't account for the feeling. The sheer, unshakable conviction of so many people is what makes this so compelling. It's not a vague, I think it might have been. It's a foundational memory, as real as the taste of the peanut butter itself. How can millions of completely separate minds all make the exact same specific error? This is the true power of the Mandela effect. It forces you to question the very reliability of your own mind. Are we all just misremembering in perfect, eerie unison? Or are we remembering correctly, but remembering a world that was subtly edited? A timeline that forked, leaving us with these strange, phantom artifacts of a reality that no longer exists for us. So the next time you walk down the grocery aisle and see that jar, take a closer look. It's no longer just peanut butter. It's a monument to a shared phantom past. A simple, creamy reminder that what you remember and what is real might be two very different things. Mirror, mirror on the wall. You know the line. It's one of the most iconic phrases in cinematic history, spoken by the evil queen in Disney's Snow White. You can probably hear the cold, crisp voice in your head right now. But what if I told you that in this reality, in the film, you can go and watch this very second? She never says it. Go ahead, look it up. The line is, and has always been, magic mirror on the wall. For many of you, that will feel viscerally wrong. A glitch in the matrix. You're not alone. Millions of people distinctly remember the word mirror, not magic. So, what's going on here? Is this just a simple collective misremembering? Well, that's the easy answer. The most logical explanation points back to the source material, the original Grimm's fairy tale from 1812. In that story, the queen does indeed say, "Mirror, mirror on the wall." It seems Disney changed the line, but the original, more poetic version was already embedded deep in our cultural consciousness. It's the version that got passed down, repeated in parodies, and solidified in our minds. Think of our collective memory like a story told around a campfire. Each time it's retold, tiny details get embellished or simplified to make it flow better. Mirror, mirror has a better rhythm, a more satisfying alliteration. It's simply a stickier phrase, and it won the evolutionary battle for our memory. But this is where the iceberg starts to reveal its depths. What if it's not a flaw in our memory, but a flicker in reality itself? The Mandela Effect proposes that these aren't false memories at all. Instead, they are residual memories from a parallel timeline, an alternate reality that was once our own, where the queen did say, "Mirror, mirror." Maybe our consciousness has shifted, but faint echoes of the world we left behind remain. So, when you remember that line, are you making a mistake? Or are you remembering a history that has been overwritten? A past that, for you, really did happen? The mirror on the wall shows you your reflection, but perhaps your memory is reflecting a world you can no longer see. Kit Kat hyphen. It's a ghost in the machine of your memory, a tiny black line that, for millions, has simply vanished from reality. Go ahead, picture that iconic red wrapper right now. You see the bold white font. You can almost feel the snap of the chocolate wafer. But in your mind's eye, is there a small distinct dash separating the kits and the cat? If you're nodding your head, you're part of a massive, shared memory of a world that, according to all physical evidence, never existed. This is one of the most potent and stubborn examples of the Mandela Effect. The company insists historical archives are clear, and every vintage wrapper pulled from the depths of time shows the same thing. Kit Kat. One word. A seamless, unbroken whole. It has, officially, always been this way. So, where does that leave your memory? Is it just a glitch? The rational explanation is that our brains are pattern-making engines. A hyphen feels grammatically, right? It imposes a logical break between two identical syllables. It's like our collective consciousness looked at the logo and performed a subconscious copy at it, inserting a piece of punctuation because it simply felt correct. Maybe we conflated it with other brands that use a similar structure, like Tic Tac. That's the simple, clean answer. But the sheer number of people who remember the hyphen with absolute, unshakable certainty is staggering. They don't just think it was there, they feel it. It's a memory as real as any other. This is where the phenomenon slips from a simple quirk of psychology into something far more unsettling. It's like a phantom limb of typography. You can still feel the presence of something that has been amputated from the timeline. Proponents of the Mandela Effect will tell you this isn't a failure of memory, but proof of a fractured one. A glimpse into a parallel reality where the logo was, in fact, different. A universe that ran alongside ours until, at some point, the timelines merged, leaving behind nothing but a faint ghostly echo in our minds. So the question isn't just about a candy bar. It's about the very nature of your own past. If a memory this trivial, this universally shared, can be proven wrong by reality, what other foundations of your personal history might be built on sand? Fruit of the loom cornucopia. It's more than just a logo. It's a ghost in our collective machine. A memory so vivid, so universally shared, that its non-existence feels like a personal gaslighting by the universe itself. Close your eyes for a second. I want you to picture it. You can see it, can't you? The cascade of fruit, plump purple grapes, crisp red apples, a cluster of green leaves, and behind it all, the unmistakable woven, horn-shaped basket, the cornucopia, a symbol of abundance, of harvest, permanently stitched into the fabric of your childhood memories, right on the tag of your t-shirts and underwear. You remember tracing it with your finger. You remember seeing it in laundry piles. This isn't a vague, dreamlike recollection for millions. It's a concrete fact. The problem is, it's a fact that history denies. According to Fruit of the Loom, that cornucopia never existed. Not once. Go ahead, look it up. The official brand history shows the fruit, yes, but never the basket. There was no redesign that removed it. It was simply never there. This is where the fabric of reality begins to fray. It's one thing to misremember a movie line, but this is a visual brand identity. It's like vividly remembering a grand staircase in your childhood home, only to be told by your parents and shown blueprints that it was always a one-story house. The memory is so tangible, yet all physical evidence says you're wrong. So, what's going on? Believers in this Mandela effect have scoured the internet for what they call residue, lingering proof of their timeline. They point to parodies, like a scene in the movie Aunts or a gag in an old cartoon, that feature a cornucopia logo. But this creates a paradox. Are these parodies proof that the original once existed? Or are these parodies the very source of our collective misremembering, a seed of a false memory planted in our minds that we all nurtured into the same identical illusion? The Fruit of the Loom cornucopia forces you to ask a deeply unsettling question. Which is more likely, that millions of people, strangers to each other, spontaneously invented the exact same non-existent detail? Or that the history you remember isn't the one you're living in? It's a simple logo that suggests our own memories might be the most unreliable narrators of all, and that the past might be more editable than we ever imagined. Looney Tunes versus our tunes. Let's conduct a little experiment inside the archive of your own mind. Picture that iconic title card, the red concentric circles pulsing on the screen. Now, in your head, spell out the second word of the title. I'm willing to bet that for a significant number of you, your brain instantly served up TOONS. It just feels right, doesn't it? A perfect, snappy shorthand for cartoons. Spelling is intuitive, it's logical, it's what should be there. But the concrete, verifiable reality is that it has always been Looney Tunes. TUNES, as in musical melodies. Go ahead, look it up. Every official logo, every piece of vintage merchandise, every single frame from the original shorts confirms it. This isn't just a common misspelling. This is a foundational pillar of the Mandela effect. For millions of people, the tune's spelling isn't a guess. It's a core memory, a fact they feel in their bones, as certain as the anvil perpetually hanging over Wile E. Coyote's head. Now, the historical explanation is quite neat and tidy. The series was created as a sister show to another Warner Brothers property called Merry Melodies. So, the names were designed to be a pair, like musical bookends. Merry Melodies and Looney Tunes. It's a clever bit of branding from the 1930s, tying everything back to the music that was so central to these early animations. But that clean, historical fact does absolutely nothing to shake the deep-seated feeling of wrongness, does it? It doesn't erase that phantom memory of seeing those two O's on your childhood television screen. This is the Mandela effect in its purest, most potent form. It's like your brain is an incredibly efficient filing system. It saw the word loony next to a cartoon character and filed it under tunes because that's the most logical folder. The problem is, millions of other, completely separate filing systems all made the exact same error. It's a shared collective misremembering on a global scale. We feel its presence even when all the evidence tells us it was never there. It forces you to ask a deeply uncomfortable question. Is your memory just a flawed copy? Or are you remembering a slightly different draft of reality, a timeline where the world just made a little more sense? It's a glitch in the source code of our shared culture, a ghost haunting the borders of what we believe to be true. Pikachu's tail. It's one of the most potent examples of a shared false memory. I want you to do something for me. Right now, picture that iconic yellow tail. It's shaped like a lightning bolt, right? But what about the very end of it? What color is the tip? If you, like millions of others, vividly remember a black tip, you're remembering something that never existed. Go ahead, look it up. You'll find that Pikachu's tail has always been pure yellow, right to the end. The only other color is a patch of brown at the base, where it connects to its body. So, where does this phantom black tip come from? Why is it burned into the minds of so many? The simple explanation is that your brain isn't a video camera, it's an artist. It doesn't just record reality, it interprets it, often taking logical shortcuts to create a more coherent picture. You see the prominent black tips on Pikachu's ears, and your mind, the efficient artist, decides to add that same accent to its other most prominent feature, the tail. It's an act of unconscious design consistency. Furthermore, there's a co-conspirator in this memory heist, Pichu. Pikachu's pre-evolution does have a black tail. For a generation that grew up with both, it's easy to see how the details could blur, merging into a single, composite memory of the franchise's most famous face. The brain, in its effort to build a simple narrative, essentially retrofits the detail onto the more famous character. But for many, these logical explanations feel hollow. The memory feels too real, too crisp to be a simple mistake. And this is where the rabbit hole truly opens. This isn't just about a cartoon character, it's about the nature of memory itself. Think of your memory not as a file you retrieve, but as a story you reconstruct every single time you recall it. It's like a photocopy of a photocopy. With each new telling, tiny errors can creep in, small details can be sharpened, and phantom facts can be born. So when you remember that black tip, you're not just misremembering a Pokemon, you're experiencing the ghost of a detail, a phantom fact painted by the brilliant but flawed artist inside your own head. And it forces you to ask, what other masterpieces of fiction are hanging in the gallery of your most certain memories? We Are the Champions, ending. Go ahead, try it. In the quiet theater of your mind, play the final triumphant bars of the Queen Anthem. Freddie Mercury's voice soars, the piano and drums crash, we are the champions, and then what? What is the very last line? If you, like millions of others, distinctly hear him belt out a final, definitive of the world, then you are experiencing one of the most famous and powerful Mandela effects in modern history. Because if you go and listen to the original studio recording, the one that has existed since 1977, you'll find it's not there. The song fades out after that final hanging champions. That last explosive phrase simply doesn't exist. So why do we remember it so vividly? It's not just a vague feeling for many, it's a core memory, as real as the melody itself. The answer isn't a simple glitch in the matrix, but a fascinating look at how our memory is built. Think of it less like a video file and more like a story we reconstruct every time we tell it. The most powerful ingredient in this reconstruction is live performance. At the legendary 1985 Live Aid concert in front of a global audience, Freddie Mercury held the microphone out to a roaring stadium of 72,000 people. The collective energy, the call and response, the sheer emotional weight of that moment created a new, more powerful version of the song's ending. That live memory, supercharged with emotion, was seared into our collective consciousness, overriding the quieter, more sterile studio version. There's also a psychological pull. The phrase, "we are the champions," feels incomplete. It begs the question, champions of what? Our brain, a natural storyteller, craves resolution. It fills in the most logical, most satisfying blank. Of the world, it's a phantom limb of a lyric, a piece of the song that feels so right. Our minds collectively decided it must be there. So, when you remember that final line, what are you actually remembering? Are you misremembering a recording? Or are you perfectly remembering the feeling, the cultural echo of a song that became bigger than its own vinyl grooves? It's a subtle but profound difference, blurring the line between what was recorded and what was truly experienced. C-3PO's silver leg. This isn't just a piece of movie trivia, it's a glitch in our shared cultural memory. A perfect crack in reality that you can fall into. Close your eyes. Picture the iconic protocol droid from Star Wars. He's anxious, he's polite, and he's gold, right? Head to toe, A gleaming, solid gold automaton. That's the image burned into the minds of millions. It's the image on lunchboxes, on action figures, on posters that hung in our childhood bedrooms. Now, open your eyes, because that memory, as vivid as it is wrong. In the original trilogy, from the very first film, C3PO has always had a silver right leg, from the knee down. It's not a subtle detail you have to squint to see. Once you know it's there, it's glaringly obvious, a mismatched piece of scrap metal on an otherwise pristine droid. It feels like a retcon, a change made in a special edition, but it's not. It's been there since 1977, so why do we all remember him as pure gold? The logical explanation is a form of mental data compression. Your brain saw a mostly gold robot and, to save processing power, it just filed him away as gold robot. It's like saving a complex image as a low-quality JPEG. You get the gist, but the finer details are lost. The movie's lighting, especially in the glaring deserts of Tatooine, often washed out the difference between the gold and silver plating. And crucially, most of the merchandise for decades simplified his design to be all gold, because it was cheaper and easier to manufacture. We were surrounded by the simplified, incorrect version, but that's the rational take. The Mandela Effect offers a far more unsettling possibility. It suggests that this isn't a flaw in our memory, but that our memory is a perfect record of a reality that no longer exists. A world where C3PO was entirely gold. The silver leg isn't a detail we missed, it's a patch note from a universal software update we never got the memo for. So, the question becomes a chilling one. Is your memory faulty, a product of clever marketing and cognitive shortcuts? Or is it a ghost, a perfect photograph of a timeline that has been erased? The Volkswagen logo. Picture it in your mind right now. AV sitting on top of a W, both encased in a neat circle. It's one of the most recognizable emblems on the planet. But I want you to focus on one tiny detail. Is there a line? A clean horizontal gap separating the V from the W? For a huge number of people, the answer is an immediate, resounding yes. That little gap is a core part of the design, a crisp separation that makes the two letters distinct. You remember seeing it on the back of Beetles, on the front of camper vans? It's etched into your memory with the certainty of a brand name. Separation was always there. Now, here's where reality begins to feel a little wobbly. Go look up the official Volkswagen logo. Look at it on a modern car. Look at historical logos going back decades. There is no gap. The V and the W are fused together, a single, unified symbol. The line that so many people swear they saw simply doesn't exist in our current timeline. And it hasn't for a very, very long time. This isn't just a simple case of a logo changing. People remembered the gapped version on cars from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, eras where the official, documented logo was the fused version. It's like looking at a family photo and suddenly noticing a person in the background who was never there before. Your memory screams one thing, but the physical evidence tells a completely different story. This is the Mandela Effect in its purest form. It's not about forgetting a detail, it's about thousands of disconnected people sharing the exact same incorrect memory. So, what's the explanation? Did Volkswagen secretly use an alternate logo for years that has since been scrubbed from history? Or is this a genuine glitch in the matrix? A tiny edit in the code of our reality where two timelines, one with a gap and one without, merge together. The Volkswagen logo forces us to confront an uncomfortable question. Which is more reliable, the tangible, verifiable evidence in front of you, or the crystal clear, unwavering memory inside your own head? The next time you see that iconic emblem on the road, take a closer look. You might just see the ghost of a line that was, or perhaps was never, there at all. It's a simple design that asks a deeply complicated question. Is your memory driving, or are you just along for the ride? Sex and the City. It's a title that instantly conjures images of Cosmos, Manalos, and a certain New York columnist. But I want you to pause for a second and really think about that title. Say it out loud. Does it feel right? Or does a tiny, nagging voice in the back of your mind insist it was always? Sex in the City? If you're in the in camp, you are not alone. This is one of the most pervasive and strangely emotional Mandela effects out there. It's a memory that feels incredibly solid, baked into the cultural landscape of the late 90s. For countless people, the preposition in just feels correct. It makes more logical sense, doesn't it? The show is about the experience of navigating sex and relationships in the city of New York. It's a cleaner, more direct description. Sex and the city almost sounds like two separate items on a list, like peanut butter and jelly. Yet, if you look at any official poster, any DVD case, or any streaming service, the title is and has always been Sex and the City. So, what's happening here? The logical explanation is that our brains are efficiency machines. They're designed to find patterns and smooth out cognitive bumps. In is a more intuitive word choice, so it's possible our collective memory simply autocorrected the title over decades, like a faulty spell check for reality. It's a testament to how our minds will subconsciously edit the world to make it fit a more convenient narrative. Think of our shared memory as a massive digital file. Each time we access it, a tiny bit of data can get corrupted. A 1 becomes a 0, an and becomes an in. For most of us, the file remains intact. But for others, they're seeing the corrupted version. The Mandela Effect Iceberg, however, asks us to go deeper. What if this isn't a bug in our memory, but a feature of reality itself? The more fantastical explanation is that those who remember Sex and the City aren't misremembering at all. They're simply recalling the title from a slightly different timeline they slipped out of, a parallel universe where a marketing executive made a different choice one afternoon. It leaves you with a strange choice. Do you trust the hard evidence of the present, the physical media and digital records that have been archived and verified? Or do you trust that vivid, unshakable gut feeling, that phantom memory of a title that feels more real than reality itself? It's a glitch in the matrix, played out not with black cats, but with a simple three-letter word that calls into question the very reliability of our shared pop culture past. Chick-fil, a spelling. How certain are you about the name of the most famous chicken sandwich in America? For millions, the memory is crystal clear. C-H-I-C, Chick-fil-A, or maybe C-H-I-K, Chick-fil-A. It feels right. It looks right on the red and white logo in your mind's eye. It's what you remember seeing on those signs your entire life. But if you look today, you'll find that objective reality, the one we all supposedly share, profoundly disagrees with you. It has, apparently, always been C-H-I-C-K. Chick-fil-A. That feels like an intruder, doesn't it? A tiny, unwelcome guest in a memory you thought was secure. This isn't like forgetting a minor historical date. This is like waking up one morning to find a stop sign on your corner is now spelled S-T-O-P-P. Your brain's pattern recognition system screams that something is fundamentally wrong. The Chick-fil-A spelling is one of the most potent and widespread examples of the Mandela effect, because it's not a distant fact, it's a piece of everyday modern culture. A brand identity seared into our collective consciousness through decades of advertising. We've seen it on cups, bags, and billboards thousands of times. So how could so many of us get it so wrong? Proponents of an alternate timeline will point to what they call residue. Faint, blurry photos from the 90s, old forum posts, personal anecdotes, all claiming to show the chic spelling without the K. They are like digital ghosts of a timeline that no longer exists, artifacts from a reality that was somehow overwritten. For them, this isn't a failure of memory. It's evidence that we'd flipped into a parallel universe where one of the only noticeable changes was the name of a fast food chain. The more conventional explanation, of course, is a simple trick of the mind. Our brains are efficiency machines, always looking for shortcuts. Chic is a common, sophisticated word. Chick is a plausible phonetic spelling. Chick, while correct, is slightly clunky. Your brain, in an effort to streamline information, might have simply smoothed over that K for years, replacing it with a more familiar or logical pattern. You saw what you expected to see, not what was actually there. A mass-scale cognitive hiccup. But the feeling persists. That nagging sense of dislocation, it transforms a simple logo into a profound philosophical question. Are our memories faulty, unreliable narrators of our own lives? Or is memory the only true record we have, a ghost image of a world that was once real? The next time you drive past that red and white sign, look closely at that K. And ask yourself, is the sign wrong or is the world? Forrest Gump's box of chocolates. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture the scene. The slightly crumpled white suit, the bus stop bench, the earnest look in Tom Hanks's eyes as he offers a piece of candy to a stranger. You know the line. It's a piece of cultural furniture, a phrase so iconic you don't even have to think about it. My mama always said, "Life is like a box of chocolates." It feels right, doesn't it? It rolls off the tongue. It's a universal truth, packaged in a perfect simile. But here's the unsettling part. You're remembering it wrong. Everyone is. Go back and watch the film. I promise you, it's worth the trip. On that bench, Forrest Gump looks at his companion and says, "My mama always said life was like a box of chocolates." Side tway, past tense. A tiny, almost insignificant change in verb tense that completely destabilizes a memory you felt was solid as rock. For millions, this is the quintessential Mandela Effect. It's not some obscure piece of trivia, it's a foundational quote from one of the most beloved movies of all time, and the version etched into our collective consciousness simply doesn't exist. The dissonance is jarring. It's like finding a typo in the Declaration of Independence. So, what's going on here? Is this proof of a parallel universe bleeding into our own? Probably not. The real answer is far more intimate and perhaps more unsettling. It's about the nature of your own mind. Your brain isn't a hard drive that stores perfect, unchangeable files. It's a storyteller. It takes raw data and weaves it into a narrative that makes the most sense. The phrase, "life is like a box of chocolates," is a much better, more profound piece of wisdom. It's a timeless philosophical statement. Life is just a recollection of something someone used to say. Your brain, in an act of subconscious housekeeping, corrects the line to what it feels it should have been. It smooths the edges to create a more perfect memory. This corrected version then gets amplified by culture. Think of it like a game of telephone played by an entire civilization over 30 years. The movie is the first whisper, but every parody, every meme, every time someone casually uses the phrase, they almost always use the is version. This incorrect quote is more powerful, more poetic, and so it replicates, spreading through our shared culture until it completely overwrites the original. We aren't remembering the film anymore. We're remembering the echo of the film, a version that's been polished and perfected by millions of minds. And it forces you to ask a deeply uncomfortable question. If our collective memory can so easily edit something this simple, what other, bigger stories have we all agreed to tell ourselves are true? The Ford logo's pigtail. Go ahead, picture it in your mind's eye right now. The deep blue oval, the elegant, looping script. Focus on the letter F. What do you see? For millions of people, the memory is crystal clear. A clean, strong F with a simple horizontal crossbar. A crisp, confident letter form that has been stamped onto countless trucks and Mustangs, a symbol of American industry baked into our collective consciousness. It's a logo you've seen thousands, maybe tens of thousands of times. But what if I told you that logo, the one you're picturing, doesn't exist in this reality? Look at the actual Ford logo. Look closely at that FF. See it? That little loop, that curly flourish on the end of the crossbar. A pigtail. For believers in the Mandela Effect, this tiny curl of ink is a profound anomaly. It's a detail that feels fundamentally wrong, an alteration to a piece of cultural furniture that should be immovable. People swear, with absolute certainty, that this pigtail is a recent addition, a change that happened sometime in the last decade or two. They remember drawing the logo as kids without the loop. They remember the clean version on their family car. The problem is, history disagrees. When you look back at the archives, that pigtail has been there for a very, very long time. It's present in variations of the script logo going all the way back to 1912. It's not new. It's not a redesign. According to the official record, it has almost always been there. So, what's going on? The simple explanation is mass misremembering. Our brains are pattern-making machines, and they love to simplify. Perhaps we collectively streamlined the logo in our minds, shaving off the extraneous detail for a cleaner mental image. It's a logical answer, but it doesn't quite satisfy the unnerving feeling that so many people share. It's like listening to a song you've known your entire life and suddenly hearing a single jarring note in the chorus that you know in your bones was never there before. Everyone else insists the note was always part of the song. But you remember. You remember the original. The Ford pigtail isn't just about a logo. It's about the chilling possibility that our shared concrete reality might be more like a rewritable document than a stone tablet. And you've just noticed an edit? The thinker statue pose. Go ahead, picture it in your mind right now. A man, lost in profound thought, his powerful fist pressed firmly against his forehead. It's an image so iconic, it's practically a cultural shorthand for deep contemplation. You've seen it parodied in cartoons, referenced in movies, maybe you've even struck the pose yourself. There's just one problem. That's not the pose. If you look up a picture of Rodin's actual masterpiece, you'll see something different. The man's chin is resting on the back of his hand. His knuckles are pressed against his lips, not his brow. It's a subtle change, but once you see it, the difference is jarring. The version in your head, the fist-to-forehead image, doesn't exist in our reality. So why do millions of people remember it so vividly? This is a classic textbook example of the Mandela Effect. The most straightforward explanation is psychological. Our brains are lazy. They love shortcuts. The image of someone pressing a fist to their forehead is a much more common, almost cartoonish gesture for intense thinking. Over time, culture acts like a giant game of telephone, and the actual, more passive pose of the statue gets overwritten by this more dramatic, easily digestible symbol. It becomes a kind of cultural emoji for thinking hard, and our memory, seeking efficiency, just swaps in the emoji for the real thing. But then there's the other explanation, the one that keeps you up at night. The one that suggests this isn't just a simple mix-up. This theory proposes that our collective memory isn't faulty at all. Instead, we are remembering a world that was, a reality, a timeline, where the thinker did have his fist to his forehead. And at some point, for reasons unknown, we slipped from that reality into this one, where the statue is slightly different. We're left with a residual memory, a phantom limb of a past that has been edited out of existence. It's just a statue, right? A simple, misremembered detail. But it pulls at a very unsettling thread. If your memory of something so solid, so famous, so literally set in stone can be wrong, what else are you misremembering? Is your mind a faithful recorder of history? Or is it just a storyteller, making up the details as it goes along? The location of New Zealand, think of your mental map of the world, that familiar globe spinning in the dark of your mind. Now, find Australia. Easy. And just to its southeast, you'll see two islands, right? That's where it is. But for a surprising number of people, that's not where they remember it at all. For them, the map they grew up with, the one seared into their memory, shows something entirely different. This is one of the most classic and unsettling examples of the Mandela effect. It's not just a vague feeling, it's a specific, shared, alternate memory. In this other world, this phantom geography, New Zealand, isn't tucked away to the southeast of Australia. Instead, it's located to the northeast, sometimes sitting much higher up, almost parallel to Queensland. For others, its position is far more isolated in the vast Pacific, with no major continent nearby. People who hold this memory don't just think they might be right, they feel an unshakable certainty. It's like knowing the sky is blue, only to wake up one day and find everyone calmly insisting it has always been green. So, what's going on? The simple explanation is that memory is not a recording. It's a reconstruction. Every time you access a memory, you're essentially rebuilding it from scratch, and sometimes you put a few pieces in the wrong place. Our brains are designed to create coherent stories, not to be perfect archives. It's possible that the proximity of Australia and New Zealand in our minds causes us to smudge their relative positions over time. The constant visual of maps, especially distorted projections, could lead to a common, widespread error. There's even a running joke about how often New Zealand is left off world maps entirely, which only adds to its phantom-like quality in our collective consciousness. But the sheer conviction of so many people is what makes this so compelling. They don't remember being unsure. They remember being sure of its northeastern location. Is it just a mass coincidental error of the mind? A glitch in our shared mental software? Or is it a faint, lingering echo of a world that was once slightly different? A whisper from a reality that got overwritten? The paper map says one thing, but for thousands, the map in their head says another. And sometimes it's the ghost of that other map that feels more real. The country of Sri Lanka's position. I want you to do something. Close your eyes and picture a map zeroing in on the Indian subcontinent. See that distinct, pointed tip? Now, where is Sri Lanka? For a staggering number of people, the image that flashes into their mind is instant and certain. It's a teardrop-shaped island hanging directly, perfectly, below the southern tip of India. Almost touching, a symmetrical pendant on a geographical necklace. You can feel that alignment in your mind's eye, can't you? That clean, centered placement. Okay, now open your eyes and pull up a real map. Google it right now. You'll see the tip of India, and then you'll see Sri Lanka. But it's not where you remember. It's shifted. It's located noticeably to the southeast, hanging off the coast of the Indian state of Tamil Nadu, separated by the Palk Strait. The perfect, direct south alignment is completely gone. It feels fundamentally wrong, like looking at a familiar portrait where the artist moved one of the eyes just a centimeter to the side. It's a subtle change that makes the entire picture feel alien. This is one of the most potent geographical Mandela effects because the old memory is so incredibly crisp and widespread. So, what's going on? The simple explanation is memory is flawed. We all saw simplified, distorted maps in our childhood classrooms, and that inaccurate image just stuck. But the Mandela effect whispers a far more fascinating possibility. It suggests your memory isn't faulty at all. It suggests you are correctly remembering a world that was geographically different. Imagine your mind is a library, and you've just pulled out an old familiar atlas. But the atlas you're holding was printed in a reality that has since been overwritten. The map in your head isn't an error, it's a fossil, a ghost of a different timeline bleeding through. You remember Sri Lanka tucked neatly under India because, in the world where your memory was forged, that's precisely where it was. The continents and oceans we see feel so permanent, so absolute. But this single, displaced island suggests that perhaps even the bedrock of our world is more fluid than we could ever imagine. It forces you to ask a truly unsettling question. Is the map in your head the one that's wrong, or is it the world? The Kennedy assassination car. It's not just a car, it's a time capsule from a moment that broke reality. A rolling crime scene that, for many, seems to change every time they look at it. Close your eyes and picture it. That gleaming midnight blue Lincoln Continental, codenamed SS-100X, cruising through Dealey Plaza. Who do you see inside? You see President Kennedy and Jackie in the back seat, waving. You see a driver and a Secret Service agent in the front. It's a four-person car, right? A standard, if luxurious, convertible. That's the image burned into our collective memory. The iconic, tragic portrait of four people in a four-seater car. But that memory, the one that feels so solid and real, is wrong. Go find the Zapruder film. So, count the occupants. There aren't four people. There are six. In front of Jack and Jackie, there's a whole other row, a pair of jump seats occupied by Texas Governor John Connally and his wife Nellie. The car was a custom-built, three-row, six-passenger limousine. So why do millions of people swear it was a simple four-seater? This is one of the most powerful Mandela effects out there. It's as if our minds, collectively, performed a kind of psychological triage on the event. The memory is so traumatic, so chaotic, that our brains try to simplify it, to clean it up. We edit the scene down to its essential players: the president, the first lady, the driver. The Connollys become optional extras faded out of the frame to make the tragedy more focused, more digestible. The car's own history is just as strange. You'd think it would have been immediately retired, treated as evidence, and locked away forever. But it wasn't. It was rebuilt, fitted with an armored roof, repainted black, and put right back into presidential service for years. The very vehicle that failed to protect one president was retrofitted to protect others. A ghost in the machine, tasked with preventing its own history from repeating. So, when you picture that car, what are you truly seeing? Are you remembering the physical object that sits in the Henry Ford Museum today? Or are you accessing a phantom memory, an echo of a simpler, cleaner tragedy from a timeline that feels more correct but never actually was. The Challenger disaster date. Before you reach for your phone to look it up, just take a second. Close your eyes. When did it happen? What year does your gut tell you? For a staggering number of people, the answer that surfaces is 1984, maybe 1985. It feels right, doesn't it? It feels like it belongs there, nestled among the other iconic moments of the mid-80s. But it doesn't. The Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart 73 seconds into its flight on January 28, 1986. So, what is going on here? Why do so many of us share this specific, incorrect memory? This isn't just forgetting a date. It's a collective misplacement of a major historical landmark. For many, the event is inextricably linked to being in a classroom, watching it live on television because of Krista McAuliffe, the first teacher in space. Our memory of the event isn't just a fact, it's an emotional photograph. And maybe that's the key. Think of your memory not as a perfect digital recording, but as a chaotic filing cabinet. You have a big, thick folder labeled My Mid-80s School Days. Inside are feelings, images, songs, and major events. The Challenger disaster, with its classroom connection, gets filed right in the heart of that folder. Over time, it gets paperclipped to other strong memories from that era, and its precise date begins to smudge. It bleeds into the general feeling of 1984 or 1985. The specific tag for 1986 just falls off. This is the logical explanation. A simple, understandable glitch in our collective human software. But for those of us exploring the strange corridors of the Mandela Effect, it begs a more unsettling question. Are we all just misremembering? Or are we remembering correctly but remembering a history that's no longer ours? It's a subtle difference, a single digit in a year, but it represents a crack in the very foundation of our shared reality. It makes you wonder, if a memory this vivid, this traumatic, can be shifted for millions of people, what other pages of history might have been quietly rewritten while we weren't looking? Leonardo DiCaprio's Oscar. For what felt like an eternity, it was one of the internet's greatest running gags. A universally understood punchline about one of the most celebrated actors of his generation who, somehow, kept getting snubbed by the Academy. We all remember the memes, the collective sigh each award season. It was a shared cultural experience, a story we were all following. But here's where reality starts to warp at the edges. Ask a certain group of people, and they'll tell you that whole narrative is wrong. They'll tell you, with unshakable certainty, that the joke never made sense, because Leonardo DiCaprio had already won an Oscar years, even decades earlier. For most who experience this Mandela effect, the memory is incredibly specific. It's not for The Aviator or The Wolf of Wall Street. It's for Titanic. They can picture it. A young, floppy-haired Leo, king of the world, walking up to the podium to accept the Best Actor award for playing Jack Dawson. It feels right, doesn't it? The movie was a cultural atom bomb. It won 11 Oscars, tying the all-time record. How could the lead actor in a phenomenon that huge not have won? It's like remembering a team winning the Super Bowl in a historic landslide, and your brain just automatically fills in the detail that the star quarterback was named MVP. It's the most logical conclusion. It's the story that should have happened. But it didn't. The historical record is crystal clear. Leonardo DiCaprio was not even nominated for Best Actor for Titanic. His first, and so far only, Oscar win came nearly 20 years later in 2016 for his grueling performance in The Revenant. There is no earlier award, no lost footage, no alternate timeline where he won for playing Jack. And yet, the memory persists in thousands of minds, a phantom echo of an event that never occurred. This isn't just about a misremembered trophy. It's a profound glitch in our collective consciousness. It forces you to ask a deeply unsettling question. If you and countless others can vividly recall a major historical event with such detail and conviction, an event that is factually, provably false, what else are you certain about that never really happened? What other pillars of your memory are built on sand? Sinbad's Shazam movie. It's perhaps the most compelling ghost in our cultural machine, a film that lives vividly in the minds of thousands, yet has not a single frame of evidence to prove it ever existed. Close your eyes and try to remember it. You can almost see the worn-out VHS cover at Blockbuster. The comedian Sinbad, at the peak of his 90s fame, dressed as a genie. Not a blue, animated one, but a goofy, earnest genie in a purple and yellow vest, maybe some puffy pants and a gold earring. He's granting wishes to two kids, a brother and sister, who are probably in over their heads. The memory is so specific for so many. You don't just remember that it existed, you remember the feeling of it. The bright, slightly cheesy lighting of a mid-90s family comedy. The specific V-neck cut of Sinbad's costume. Some even recall a boombox he emerged from. Now, here's the rupture in reality. The movie does not exist. It was never made. The immediate, logical explanation is that you're confusing it with Kazam, the 1996 film starring Shaquille O'Neal as a genie. But for those who swear by Shazam, this explanation feels like an insult to their memory. They'll tell you, no, they remember both films distinctly. They remember seeing Shazam because they didn't want to see Kazam, or vice versa. The memories are parallel, not overlapping. Sinbad himself has denied its existence for years, even performing an elaborate April Fool's Day prank by finding a lost copy, fanning the very flames he sought to extinguish. So what is Shazam? Is it a shared dream? A glitch in the Matrix? Think of it like a phantom limb for our collective nostalgia. The movie is so perfectly plausible, so exactly the kind of film that should have been made in that era, that our minds seem to have cooperatively willed it into a memory. It's a movie-shaped hole in the fabric of the 90s that we've patched over with a fiction that feels more real than truth. It proves that memory isn't a recording, but a story we tell ourselves. And Shazam might just be the greatest story we never saw. The Lindbergh baby. You think you know the story, right? Famous aviator's son, kidnapped from his crib, a nation in mourning. It's a story etched into the American psyche. But what if the version of the story you remember isn't the one that actually happened? Let's set the stage. In 1932, Charles Lindbergh wasn't just a pilot, he was a global icon. Imagine the fame of the first man on the moon, but with the celebrity of a rock star. He was America's hero, so when his 20-month-old son, Charles Jr., was taken from his nursery, it wasn't just a kidnapping, it was an attack on the American dream itself. The evidence was bizarre. A crude, homemade ladder left outside, a ransom note demanding $50,000, and muddy footprints. The country held its breath. For 2 years, a frantic search captivated the world. Then, a German carpenter named Bruno Hauptmann was arrested after passing one of the ransom bills. The evidence against him seemed damning. A large stash of the ransom money was found in his garage, and experts claimed the wood from the ladder matched a plank missing from his attic. He was tried, convicted, and executed, proclaiming his innocence to the very end. Case closed. Or is it? This is where memory gets strange. A significant number of people are certain they remember a different outcome. Ask around, and you'll find those who swear the Lindbergh baby was never found. They recall the case going cold, an eternal mystery with no body and no closure. Others misremember key details about the trial, believing Hauptmann was exonerated or that the evidence was definitively proven to be fake during his lifetime. So, why the disconnect? The Lindbergh case was one of the first true media circuses. It was a chaotic storm of yellow journalism, false leads, and public speculation. The story was told and retold in so many conflicting ways that our collective memory of it is like a corrupted file. The official story is that the baby's body was discovered tragically, not far from his home, just a couple of months after the kidnapping. But that grim, simple reality competes with the more mythic, unresolved versions that festered in the public imagination for years. The Lindbergh case isn't just a crime story. It's a chilling example of how a story can become so big, its facts can become soft, malleable, and forever altered in the fog of our shared memory. The Mona Lisa's smile. You think you know it, right? Subtle, enigmatic curve. But what if I told you thousands of people swear it used to be different? They don't just think they misremember it, they have a crystal clear memory of a painting that no longer exists. For them, looking at the Mona Lisa today is like getting a text from a friend that has been subtly, bizarrely edited after you read it. Many people recall a much more pronounced, definite smile. Not a wide grin, but an obvious, gentle, and unambiguous upturn of the lips. They remember discussing it in art class, seeing it in textbooks, and knowing her for that clear, happy expression. Others remember the opposite, a face that was almost somber, whose mystery came from its stern neutrality. When these people look at the painting now, they see neither. They see this flickering, uncertain expression, one that feels like a compromise, a pale imitation of the definitive version locked in their memory. Now, art historians and scientists have a fascinating explanation. It's all about Leonardo's mastery of a technique called esfumato and the mechanics of your own eyes. When you look directly at an object, you're using the central part of your retina, the fovea, which sees sharp details. Your peripheral vision, however, is better at picking up shadows and blurry shapes. Leonardo painted the corners of Mona Lisa's mouth in soft, hazy shadows. So, when you look at her eyes, your peripheral vision catches those shadows and your brain interprets them as a smile. But the moment you flick your gaze down to her mouth to confirm it, you're using your detail-oriented central vision and the smile seems to melt away. It's an illusion hardwired into our biology. It's like the smile exists only when you're not looking at it. A paradox painted in oil, but does a brilliant optical illusion fully explain the sheer conviction of so many people? The feeling isn't that they were tricked by the painting, but that the painting itself has changed. Are we all just misremembering the effect of a clever technique? Or are we collectively recalling a slightly different timeline, a world where the most famous painting in history wore a completely different face? Chartreuse color. Go ahead, picture it in your mind's eye right now. What do you see? For an astonishing number of people, the color that materializes is a deep, rich, reddish pink, something in the family of magenta or fuchsia. If that's the image your brain just served up, then welcome. You've just stumbled into one of the most persistent and personal glitches in our collective memory. Because the color chartreuse is not, and has never been, red. It's not purple. It's not even in the same neighborhood on the color wheel. The real chartreuse is an electric, almost radioactive yellow-green. Think of a brand new tennis ball or the alien glow of a highlighter pen. It's a color that screams with life. So, why does your mind, and millions of others, insist on painting it a completely different shade? The origin of the name isn't a mystery. It's locked away in the French Alps with an order of Carthusian monks. Since the 1700s, they produced a famously potent liqueur called chartreuse, distilled from a secret manuscript containing the formula for 130 different herbs and plants. A recipe so secret, only 2 monks at a time ever know the full process. This liqueur comes in 2 main varieties: green chartreuse, whose color is entirely natural from the plants, and yellow chartreuse, which is milder and sweeter. The color is named directly after this specific, botanical, and very, very green liquid. So the evidence is clear. Why the mass delusion? Why does the word itself feel so red? The most compelling theory is a kind of phonetic illusion. Our brains are pattern-matching machines. The word chartreuse contains sounds that echo other words we associate with the red family. The char might trigger thoughts of charred, glowing embers. The soft ending, use, feels phonetically similar to rouge, the French word for red. It's as if the word is a Trojan horse. It looks and sounds one way, tricking your brain into smuggling in the wrong color association entirely. It's a perfect, bite-sized Mandela effect. A personal software bug in your own perception of reality. The moment you learn the truth, your brain has to perform a hard reboot on a piece of data you were absolutely certain was correct. It's more than just a fun fact. It's a confrontation with the fallibility of your own mind, a quiet reminder that the world you remember might not be the world that actually is. It makes you wonder, if you can be so wrong about something as simple as a color, what else is just a phantom of your memory? The human kidney's location. Now, take a moment. Close your eyes if you need to, and picture the human body. Point to where your kidneys are. Right now? If you're like the vast majority of people, your finger is likely hovering over your lower back, somewhere around the beltline, nestled in that soft space just above your hips. It's the spot you instinctively rub when you say your back hurts. It's where cartoon characters get poked, and where movie tough guys grimace after taking a shot to the kidneys. We all share this mental map of our own anatomy. It feels solid. It feels correct. But here is where our shared reality develops a strange and unsettling tremor. Your kidneys are not there. Not even close. Your kidneys are actually located much, much higher up your back, tucked so far up that your lowest ribs, the floating ribs, act as their personal bodyguards. Think of your rib cage, not as a bird cage for your heart and lungs, but as a bony backpack worn high and tight. Your kidneys are tucked into the uppermost pockets of that backpack, nestled safely against your spine, just beneath your diaphragm. To actually strike a kidney from the back, you'd have to aim for the middle of the torso, not the lower flank. So the question becomes, why? Why do we all remember it wrong? Why does this fundamental piece of our own biology feel so alien when described correctly? The logical explanation is referred pain. Kidney stones or infections create a deep, radiating ache that we feel in our lower back, creating a powerful but false association. It's a sensory illusion, or is it? Is it just a simple medical mix-up, reinforced by decades of pop culture? Or is this one of those quiet glitches in the code? A biological retcon, a subtle shift in the human blueprint that left behind a ghost of a memory in all of us. A memory of a body that was once designed differently. It makes you wonder, when you feel so certain about something as intimate as your own body and you turn out to be completely wrong, what else have you been misremembering? What other fundamental truths are just phantoms, waiting to dissolve the moment you look at them too closely? The Great Vowel Shift. It's the single biggest reason English spelling is a nightmare, and it's one of history's most successful acts of mass gaslighting. It's a change so profound, it's like waking up one morning to find that the color blue is now called red, and everyone just goes along with it, leaving you to question your own sanity. Between roughly 100 and 1700, the English-speaking world decided, without a single meeting or memo, to change how it pronounced all its long vowels. Imagine it like a musical scale where every note suddenly shifts up. The sound of A moved to where E used to be. The sound of E moved to where I used to be. It was a slow, creeping, unstoppable domino effect that rippled through the entire language. Before this shift, the language you hear in your head when you read old texts is completely wrong. When Geoffrey Chaucer wrote about a mouse living in a house, he was pronouncing it more like a moose in a hoose. The word wife sounded like weef. The word feet was pronounced closer to our word fate. The name for the letter A was pronounced ah, not I. You are fundamentally mishearing history. So why did it happen? No one knows for sure. Some linguists blame the Black Death, which caused massive social upheaval and migration, mixing dialects together. Others suggest it was a kind of linguistic snobbery, with the upper classes in London trying to distinguish their speech from the newly arrived middle class. The real problem, the reason we are still living with the fallout, is the printing press. It arrived right in the middle of this linguistic chaos. Printers began to standardize spelling, essentially taking a photograph of the language while its pronunciation was still a moving target. They froze the words in their old forms, like fossils in amber, while our mouths kept marching forward. So when you stumble over a word like night, or blood, or through and wonder why it makes no sense, you're not wrong. You're looking at a ghost. A phonetic fossil of a sound that no longer exists. It's the ultimate Mandela Effect, written into the DNA of our language. A quiet, constant reminder that the world of the past didn't just look different. It sounded completely alien. Theory. Confabulation. Imagine your memory isn't a perfect video recording, but an obsessive storyteller. It hates plot holes. When a piece of the story is missing, a gap in your recollection, it doesn't leave a blank space. Instead, it quietly writes a new scene to fill the void. A scene that feels so real, so plausible, that you accept it as absolute truth. This isn't lying, there's no intent to deceive. It's your brain's automatic, unconscious process of creating a coherent narrative from fragmented information. You are both the author and the audience, and you have no idea which parts of your own life story are originals and which are rewrites. Think of it like a historian trying to restore a damaged ancient scroll. Only a few phrases are legible. To make any sense of it, the historian has to fill in the missing words based on context, language, and what should be there. The result is a complete, readable story. But it's a delicate fusion of fact and educated fiction. Your brain does this constantly. You remember putting your keys on the hook yesterday, but that memory might be a confabulation, a logical fabrication created because that's where the keys are supposed to go. Your brain filled the gap with the most probable event. Now, let's scale this up. What happens when millions of people have the same tiny gap in their collective memory? A gap concerning the spelling of a children's book, or the exact phrasing of a famous movie line. If one brain will invent a detail to make a memory feel complete, what's to stop millions of brains from independently inventing the same plausible detail? Perhaps the Mandela effect isn't evidence of shifting timelines, but of a mass shared confabulation, a collective mental patch job. Our brains encounter a fuzzy memory like Berenstain bears and correct it to the more common spelling pattern of Berenstain, then store that correction as the original memory. It's the most logical fix for a narrative hole. This theory suggests that the strangeness of the Mandela effect isn't happening in the world outside, but in the storytelling machinery within our own minds. It forces a deeply unsettling question. If our most mundane personal memories are subject to constant, invisible revision, how much of our shared history is, too? How much of the past is just a story we've all agreed to believe, because a coherent lie is more comforting than a fragmented truth? The misinformation effect. It's the reason your memory is more like a Wikipedia page than a photograph. Anyone can edit it, including you, without even realizing it. This isn't about forgetting, it's about actively, but unconsciously, rewriting the past. Imagine you're shown a video of two cars colliding. It's a simple fender bender, nothing dramatic. A week later, a researcher brings you back in. They ask you a simple question about how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other. That one, loaded word. Smashed is the Trojan horse. It carries with it implications of high speed and violent impact. If they had asked how fast the cars were going when they contacted each other, your answer would be much lower. But that's not the most incredible part. The real trick comes later. When asked if you remember seeing any broken glass at the scene, you and many others in the study are now significantly more likely to say yes. You'll have a clear mental image of it. But there was no broken glass. The word smashed didn't just change your perception, it reached back in time and inserted a false detail, a phantom shard of glass, directly into the fabric of your memory. Your brain isn't a video camera, it's a storyteller, and it hates plot holes. When new information comes in that contradicts or adds to an old memory, your mind will often perform a quiet, seamless retcon to make the story coherent. This new information, a misleading question, a news headline you misread, a detail someone else confidently misremembers, acts as a script revision. Your mind, wanting to be a good collaborator, incorporates the note. This is why the misinformation effect is so profound. It's a corruption of the original data file, overwritten with a new, slightly altered version that now feels just as authentic as the original. And when this happens on a societal scale, you get a glimpse into how collective memory can be warped. A single, widely reported error can plant a seed of misinformation that blossoms into a shared, false historical fact. It reveals that our past is not a fixed, unchangeable landscape we look back on. It's a dynamic story, co-authored by our experiences and the information we encounter afterward. It proves that a memory can feel intensely personal, completely real, and be an echo of something that never was. So, if your own mind can be so easily persuaded to remember broken glass that was never there, what other phantoms are hiding in the history we all share? The Dunning-Kruger effect. It's the reason the most ignorant person in the room is often the most confident. It's a cognitive glitch that makes us not only incompetent, but blind to our own incompetence. Imagine knowledge as a vast mountain range. When you first learn about a new subject, say a historical event, you've only taken a few steps. But from your low vantage point, you can't see the true scale of the mountain. All you see is a small, nearby hill. So you scramble to the top of that hill, look around, and think, I've mastered this. I see everything. You are standing, with blissful confidence, on the peak of what psychologists call Mount Stupid. The tragic irony is that the very skills you need to be good at something are the same skills you need to recognize how bad you are at it. You don't know what you don't know. Your lack of knowledge creates a blind spot that hides the knowledge you lack. It's a perfect, self-sealing loop of ignorance. This is why someone can watch a 10-minute video on a conspiracy and feel more certain than a historian who has spent 30 years in the archives. The historian is deep in the valleys of the mountain range. They are acutely aware of every peak they haven't climbed, every cave they haven't explored. They know the complexity, the nuance, the contradictions. Their expertise makes them cautious. On the flip side, true experts often suffer the reverse problem. They underestimate their own abilities, assuming that the tasks they find easy must be easy for everyone else, too. The Dunning-Kruger effect is the engine of so much misplaced certainty in our world. It fuels the conviction behind false memories and alternate histories. It allows people to believe, with absolute sincerity, that they have uncovered a truth that generations of experts have somehow missed. The first step to wisdom isn't acquiring knowledge. It's descending from Mount Stupid into the Valley of Humility, where you can finally see how much there is left to learn. The truly unsettling question is, how do you know which peak you're standing on right now? Internet as a catalyst. This is the theory that the web isn't just a mirror reflecting our world, it's an active ingredient changing its very composition. It suggests that the Mandela effect isn't something we just started noticing because of the internet. It's something the internet may have started causing. Imagine history before the network. It was a slow, thick river of information. Books, photographs, memories passed down from person to person. There was a consensus, a shared physical reality that was difficult to alter. Disagreements existed, of course, but they were like small eddies in a powerful current. For the most part, the river flowed in one direction. Then, we built the internet. It wasn't just a library, it was a global nervous system. Suddenly, information wasn't a linear river anymore. It was a quantum cloud of possibilities, where every version of a memory, every spelling of a name, and every frame of a movie could exist simultaneously, just a click away. This is where the catalyst theory takes hold. In chemistry, a catalyst is a substance that speeds up a reaction without being consumed. What if the internet is a catalyst for reality itself? It takes the slow, uncertain process of collective memory and accelerates it to light speed. Think about it. When millions of people suddenly search for Nelson Mandela dying in prison or a movie where Sinbad played a genie, they aren't just asking a question. They are feeding energy into a possibility. The network, with its interconnected nodes of human consciousness, acts like a massive resonance chamber. It amplifies that shared, alternate memory. The theory suggests that this collective focus, this immense digital observation, might be enough to create ripples. It could strengthen the timeline where Sinbad did play a genie, making it feel more tangible, more real, to those who remember it. The internet, in this view, is a loom weaving countless threads of reality together. When you stumble upon a Mandela effect, you're not just misremembering. You might be feeling the vibration of a different thread, a parallel history that has been made stronger, more present, by the collective consciousness of the network. We thought we were just building a tool to share information. But what if we accidentally built an engine for choosing our own past? Theory: Abbey universe testing. You know how a website sometimes shows you a green button but shows your friend a blue one? They're testing which one you're more likely to click. It's called AAB testing, a simple, harmless experiment. Now, what if our entire reality is just the final, winning version of one of those tests? The idea is this: some unfathomable intelligence isn't just running our universe. It's running countless variations all at once in parallel. Each one is a slight tweak of the last. Think of it like a cosmic author editing a story. In Draft 1, a character makes the fateful choice. In Draft 2, they choose differently. The author wants to see which version creates a better, more stable, or more interesting narrative. In this theory, our universe is just one of those drafts. And the Mandela effect? That's the ghost of a deleted scene. It's a bleed through from a previous version of reality that was tested, found wanting, and ultimately overwritten. You remember the Berenstain Bears with an E, not because your memory is faulty, but because you might have briefly existed in the timeline where that was the objective truth. That was Universe B. But for whatever reason, maybe it led to a less optimal outcome. Maybe it was just a less pleasing detail to the grand programmer. Our reality was patched with the data from Universe A, where it was always Berenstain. The merge, however, wasn't perfect. It's like a sloppy copy and paste job in a massive document. A few stray bits of data, your memories, the memories of thousands of others, were left behind from the deprecated reality. You're not misremembering. You're remembering a world that was edited out of existence. Why would this happen? Perhaps a superintelligence is trying to create the most ethical possible reality by testing every variable. Or maybe it's a grand simulation, run by our far future descendants, trying to pinpoint the exact moment their own history went wrong so they can fix it. They change one tiny detail from the past, the spelling of a children's book, the logo of a car, a single line in a movie, and let the simulation run for centuries to see the butterfly effect. So, the next time you feel a powerful sense of déjà vu, maybe it's not a trick of the mind. Maybe it's a flicker of a memory from a previous test run you were a part of. That nagging feeling that something in the world just isn't quite right isn't you being paranoid. It's your consciousness, brushing up against the patch notes of reality itself, sensing the edits that were made to create this current draft. The only question is, how long until the next update goes live? Theory: CERN and particle collisions. Imagine our reality is a sheet of glass, so vast and clear you can't see its edges. Now imagine a machine, buried deep beneath the Earth, that fires two microscopic pebbles at each other at nearly the speed of light. The goal is to create a crack so small, so fleeting, that for just a fraction of a second you can see what the glass is actually made of. This, in essence, is the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. Officially, they are recreating the conditions just moments after the Big Bang. By smashing protons together with unimaginable force, they hunt for the universe's most fundamental secrets, the ghost-like particles that write the rules of our existence. They found the Higgs boson, the so-called God particle, which gives mass to everything. But the theory asks, what else have they found? Or, more chillingly, what have they unleashed? The energy of these collisions is so immense that some speculate they could create micro black holes. Tiny, fleeting gravitational tears in the universe. Mainstream science assures us they would evaporate in an instant, harmlessly. But what if they don't? What if each collision is a tiny hairline fracture in that sheet of glass? One crack is nothing. But they have conducted quadrillions of these collisions. Is our reality starting to spiderweb with fissures we can't see? This is where the Mandela effect comes into sharp focus. Could these constant high-energy events be causing our timeline to flicker? To resonate with parallel universes just on the other side of the glass? Perhaps the reason you so clearly remember the Berenstain Bear spelled with an E, or a movie that doesn't seem to exist anymore, is because you're feeling the vibrations from a neighboring reality. A reality that our own has been inadvertently knocked against. Little details, like dust, falling through the cracks from their world into ours. Think about the statue that sits outside CERN's headquarters, the Hindu deity Shiva, the cosmic dancer, the destroyer of worlds, who dances to create anew. A strange choice for a scientific facility, unless their goal isn't just to observe, but to reshape. To destroy one reality to make way for another. They are playing with the fundamental forces of creation. Question is, when they finally find what they're looking for, will the universe we remember still be the one we're living in? Theory: glitches in the simulation. It's the idea that our reality is not a base reality, but an incredibly complex computer program. And like any program, it has bugs. Think about it. That jarring feeling of déjà vu, so intense it feels like a scene from a movie you've already watched. Or when you search for your keys, which you know you placed on the counter, only for them to appear in a coat pocket you haven't worn in weeks. These aren't just lapses in memory. The theory suggests they are flickers on the screen of our existence. Imagine our universe as the ultimate open-world video game. Déjà vu is simply a caching error. The system accidentally reloads a frame, and for a split second you experience a moment twice. That disappearing object? It's an asset that failed to render properly, clipping through the digital floor of your reality before the code corrects itself and places it somewhere else. These are the small personal glitches. But what about the big ones? This is where the Mandela effect comes in. This isn't a personal bug, it's a system-wide software patch. The developers, or whoever is running this simulation, decided to alter a detail. Maybe it's a line in a film, the logo of a brand, or even the location of a country on a map. They push the update, but for some of us, the old data isn't completely overwritten. Our memories become the ghost data. the residual files from a previous version of reality. And here, the theory becomes truly profound and unsettling. If the code of our world can be patched and updated, then what does that mean for history? Is the past a concrete, unchangeable thing? Or is it just the most recent stable build of the software? Perhaps history didn't happen the way you remember it, because in this current version of the program, it never did. Your memories aren't wrong, they're just from a deprecated timeline, an echo of a world that was edited out of existence. So the next time you notice a coincidence that seems too perfect, or see a shadow move in a way that defies physics, don't just dismiss it. You might not be mistaken. You might just be witnessing a crack in the code. A brief, fleeting glimpse of the scaffolding that holds our entire world together. Quantum immortality and consciousness sliding. It's a deeply unsettling thought experiment that suggests you, your specific stream of consciousness, can never truly experience your own death. You are, from your own perspective, immortal. It all starts with the quantum suicide machine. Picture a device aimed at your head, wired to a quantum particle. If the particle's spin is measured as up, the device does nothing. It just clicks. If it's measured as down, it fires. A true 50D50 coin flip. An observer in the room has a 50% chance of watching a tragedy unfold. But what do you experience? According to the theory, you only ever hear the click. Every single time. Forever. Why? Because in any branch of reality where the device fires, your consciousness is extinguished. It can't perceive its own end. Therefore, your awareness is forced, by simple logic, to follow the path where it continues to exist. This leans on the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, the idea that every quantum possibility creates a new parallel universe, an almost infinite number of timelines branching off from every single moment. You aren't just getting lucky. Your consciousness is sliding into the adjacent timeline where you survived. Imagine your life as a film reel. A fatal accident is a frame where the film burns up. But your awareness doesn't stop, it just jumps to the next, nearly identical film reel that's still playing. To you, it wasn't a fatal accident. It was a terrifying near miss, a moment your heart skipped a beat before you drove on, completely unaware you just switched realities. But here's the crucial part. These new realities you slide into aren't always perfect copies. The physics might be the same, but the histories can have tiny, arbitrary differences. And this could be the ultimate explanation for the Mandela Effect. That vivid memory you have of the Berenstain Bears with an E, or Nelson Mandela dying in prison? It might not be a failure of your memory. It could be a scar, a residual echo from a timeline you were forced to abandon, a ghost of a world where you didn't swerve in time. It paints a lonely picture. You are the ultimate survivor, constantly migrating between universes, collecting faint memories of worlds that are no longer yours. So the next time you and everyone you know remember a piece of history differently, ask yourself, are you misremembering? Or are you the only one who remembers the truth of the world you just left behind? 3. The Akashic Records. Imagine a library that contains not just every book ever written, but the story of every soul that has ever lived. Every choice made, every word spoken, every secret thought. This isn't a library of paper and ink. It's a vibrational archive of existence itself, and you have a library card. The concept, popularized by mystics like Helena Blavatsky and the sleeping prophet Edgar Cayce, describes a non-physical plane of existence, the Akasha, that acts as a universal filing system. Think of it less like a dusty bookshelf and more like a celestial cloud server. Every event, from the formation of a galaxy to the quietest tear you ever shed, is uploaded and stored as an energetic imprint. It's the ultimate backup drive for the cosmos, containing the complete history of the past, the present, and all potential futures. Proponents believe that certain individuals, through deep meditation, astral projection, or profound spiritual states, can consciously tap into this network. They don't read it with their eyes, they experience it. They download the information directly, witnessing events as if they were there. It's a direct line to the source code of reality. So, how does this fit into our iceberg of fractured history? This is where it gets truly unsettling. If the Mandela effect isn't just faulty memory, what if it's a glitch in our connection to the records? What if you and millions of others aren't misremembering the Berenstain Bears, but are instead subconsciously accessing a record from a slightly different timeline? a parallel file where Nelson Mandela did die in prison, and where a genie movie with Sinbad really existed. From this perspective, history isn't a single concrete book we all read from. It's a vast, dynamic database. And perhaps our collective consciousness is starting to access different conflicting entries. We aren't just remembering things differently, we're remembering different realities. The theory suggests that the past isn't as solid as we think. It's a living, breathing archive. And if that's true, it poses a final chilling question as you drift off. Whose history are you remembering tonight? Theory. Retrocausality. The observer effect. Imagine time isn't a river flowing in one direction, but a vast, still lake. And your choices, your very act of looking at something, are like stones dropped into it, sending ripples not just forward into the future, but backward into the past. This isn't just philosophy, it's rooted in the strangest corner of science, quantum mechanics. It begins with something called the observer effect. Picture the famous double-slit experiment. Scientists fire tiny particles, like electrons, at a wall with two slits in it. When no one is looking, the particles behave like waves, passing through both slits simultaneously and creating a complex, smeared-out pattern on the detector screen behind it. It's a pattern of pure possibility, but the moment you place a detector to see which slit a single particle goes through, the game changes. The act of observation forces its hand. The electron abandons its wave-like ambiguity and behaves like a solid little ball, choosing one slit or the other. The wave pattern vanishes, replaced by two simple lines. The universe, it seems, behaves differently when it's being watched. This is where it truly shatters our understanding of reality. Physicists later designed what's called the delayed choice experiment. In this version, the decision to measure which path the particle took is made after it has already passed the slits. Logically, the particle's past behavior should already be set in stone. But it isn't. The choice you make in the present seems to reach back in time and determine whether the particle behaved like a wave or a solid object in the past. The effect precedes the cause. So, could this be happening on a grander scale? When we talk about the Mandela effect, are we just talking about faulty memory? Or could our collective present-day observation of history be sending ripples back through that lake of time? Is it possible that the past isn't a fixed, recorded film we're simply rewatching, but a shimmering field of quantum probabilities? A story that isn't finalized until an observer, in the future, decides to read the page. The past might not be what you remember. It might be what you are right now, making it.